It's time for Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather, sponsored by Command Family Medicine and John's Heating and Air. Here's your host, meteorologist Abby Dyer.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Monday, an eventful start to the week, definitely. We had a wintry mix in the Ozarks yesterday, and of course, there are some slick areas out there early this morning. Not a lot in terms of totals, but just enough to coat things, make them slick, allow for the schools to begin canceling, and our northern counties have quite a few problems on the area roadways. We have some issues here in the Springfield area as well, even places that just got the cold rain from most of this event. Well, because temperatures are so cold this morning, we're seeing some freezing in places that just had moisture. So it's slick in a whole lot of locations across the Ozarks this morning. Many of you waking up to a bit of accumulated snow out there. So a snow day for many, but I want to urge you to use caution. Don't allow the kids to go out for too long today. It is just going to be downright too cold this time around. Wind chill values near 0 this morning with actual temperatures near 10. And it's not going to move a whole lot. We are staying well below freezing today, so I am not expecting a whole lot of melting. Another thing that's going to contribute to that is a lot of cloud cover across the Ozarks today. The winter storm moving out. Thankfully, we are still holding on to a couple of winter advisories in our northern counties up in central Missouri through about 10 a.m. And then I think they're dropped. The bigger story for us today is that we still have the impact from that winter weather, meaning the roads are still slick. There's still going to be shoveling to do today. We do have the extreme cold that has set in behind this storm as well. So impact still being felt, even though that winter storm is now marching off to the east, moving into portions of the Tennessee and the Ohio River valleys, and eventually making its way to the mid-Atlantic today, causing problems for millions across the country. Treacherous travel, not just here in the Ozarks, but especially up in central Missouri. I mean, I know you saw some of the video over the weekend. Kansas City, St. Louis, a total mess. Much of the I-70 corridor still very hazardous. And part of that is because the road crews that are out there treating these conditions, the temperatures are just so cold that it's not a lot of progress when temps are this cold. Rock salt, not nearly as effective. So it's going to take some time to melt some of this off. And a few locations that got some higher snowfall totals. I'm talking along and north of Highway 54, where there were 4 and 5 inch snowfall reports. This snow may be around for another couple of weeks simply because the pattern that we're going to enter is so cold, it's going to stick around. Today, high temperatures will remain in the teens and 20s. That puts the wind chill value anywhere from 5 to 15. If you have to be outside, if you're going to be out trying to dig out of the driveway or clean off the car, just make sure you're protected to do so. Cover every part of your body. It is too cold for exposed skin. And temperatures tonight are going to get even worse. Wind chill factor tonight, -8 is possible in some places. I mean, it is going to be brutally cold across the Ozarks, and that is going to remain in place as we head through the rest of the work week too. Extreme cold in the Ozarks and treacherous travel continue through midweek, I think. And then I expect that we'll see sunshine return to the forecast. We could see some peaks of it today, but overall, I think it's cloud cover today. Sunshine returns for us tomorrow, and it will be difficult to melt off this wintry weather because I mentioned the cooler pattern. Yeah, tonight we're heading to about 10 degrees, wind chills sub-0, and then we're staying below freezing here through Thursday of this week. No temperatures near or above 32 degrees. It is going to be incredibly cold across the region. So the sun will help a little bit, but it's going to take some time to melt some of this off. Even places that got very minor totals of the freezing drizzle and the sleet. Yeah, I think we're going to keep the slick surfaces. So still be very mindful of the slick areas because they're not going to melt anytime soon. Around the country, of course, making headlines is the same winter storm that we just experienced heading off to the mid-Atlantic. We have icing that continues to move into portions of the central Appalachians and strong to severe storms for much of the southeast today. There was a severe weather element with this storm system as well in Louisiana yesterday. Now that's moving on to the southeastern Gulf Coast, and our friends down south are going to be dealing with that. So just a mess across the country and doozy of a winter storm. Even though totals were relatively low, impacts were high, especially for us here in the Ozarks and the northern Ozarks in particular, that saw some of the higher ice totals, some spotty power outages with those high winds. And we'll see the impacts continue through much of the week this week. All right, it's time for the Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather Brain Twister Trivia question. This is the question that I left you with last week. Did you have any guesses over the weekend? We saw some snow here in Springfield. So, how fast do you think those flakes were falling? On average, how fast do snowflakes fall from the sky? The options that I gave you were A, 1.5 miles per hour, B, 3 miles per hour, C, 4.5, or D, 6 miles an hour. And the answer is actually A. It's very slow. On average, it is 1.5 miles per hour. Snowflakes, which collect these super cooled water droplets, as they fall, they can fall as fast as 9 miles per hour, but most snowflakes, as people recognize them, tend to float down at about 1.5 miles per hour, taking about an hour to reach the ground from the time they leave the cloud. So sometimes if you open, whatever weather app you use and you look at the radar and you see that there are some echoes showing up on the radar, but it's not actually snowing where you are, just wait on it. Take some time. The radar's hitting it way up in the sky, but it takes a long time at 1.5 miles per hour to make it all the way down here to the Earth's surface. All right, here's the question that I'll leave you with for tomorrow. What country has a town that gets no sunlight during the polar night? Do you think that is A, Norway, B, Iceland, C, Canada, or D, Sweden? Let me know your guess. You can do that at aroundtheozarks.com. Thank you so much for listening to Around the Ozarks this morning. And thanks to our sponsors, Command Family Medicine and John's Heating and Air. Have a great one. Stay warm, friends, and stay safe. If you are home today, lucky you. But if you have to be out and about, just make sure you take it slow. Plan for extra time and plan for extra time to scrape off the car too if it was outdoors over the weekend. I'll be back to chat with you early tomorrow.